gentlemen, welcome back to Titan Series Group Stages. I am your host, Velocity. Today we have some interesting lineups, some interesting matchups, starting off with our first game of the day, which is TT9 versus Barney Trusted Dinosaurs. Over here on the desk with me tonight then, I am not alone, I'm joined by Noctish, my analyst. How are we doing tonight, Noctish?
Perfect. Finally have a cam. That's a win for me, of course, and I cannot wait to see what the day holds up for us.
Most definitely. Well then, as you are the analyst on the left, let's move into some of the analytical side of things. So TT9 barely scraped their last matchup, or their last match, sorry. It was an 8-6 scoreline. I wasn't sure what map that was on. Do you know?
Actually, the result was interesting to me. First, they didn't face an actual T4 team. White Tigers was, we can say like a T3, T2 team maybe in some aspects. So they had a strong opponent, of course. But as you mentioned, yeah, it was very close. The stats clearly show Team TT9 struggled a bit, but still they managed to escape and win the game.
Yeah. Well, moving on to the match today, obviously we're looking at we're looking at TT9. They're the tier 2 team here going into this matchup. So we have their most banned map is Chalet, and their strongest map is Club. Am I right?
Yes. TT9 is a team that actually loves playing club. So, in their all-time stats, TT9 has played club has 21 times, and
Yeah.
only lost it 6 times. So it says a lot. Also, Clubhouse is their second most map banned by the other teams with 28 times 45% banned against TT9. So I was actually a bit surprised to see BTD playing Clubhouse against TT9. Maybe they have analyzed their game perfectly and they have some surprises for us.
Yeah, well, as you said it there perfectly, our map of choice tonight then, ladies and gentlemen, is Clubhouse, which is quite interesting, as said, considering Clubhouse is the best map for TT9. Moving on to Barney's Trusted Dinosaurs then. They won their last match 7-0. I can't remember who that was against, but they won it 7-0. I think it was against Turkish Cowboys. I mean, well, the 7-0 in a tournament like Titan Series, Tish, that's wow.
I can just correct you on that. It was against Team 82 at which they won 7-0, but still it was a very dominant game, of course. Actually, in this situation, Team BTD is a little bit of like a dark horse to TT9. They don't have many votes on them. They only showed up once in the Titan, so we can expect to see an interesting game ahead of us.
Most definitely. Well, moving on to the Barney Trusted Dinosaurs then. Their most banned map is Border, but the strongest being Bank, which we both see both banned, I believe. I'm not going to beat around the bush today, Tish. I want to know your predictions for today's match.
Yeah, so TT9 of course is my option, but I guess we might even see overtime, hopefully. But let's see what happens.
Most definitely. Well, thank you very much, Tish, for the short analytic analyzing. Sorry, for the pre-show. We will see you just in a minute after our match. Moving on to our caster desk, then where we will be meeting Poobal and Golu. How are we doing tonight, gents?
I think Golo is invisible currently, so that you know, well, Golo is here. The camera isn't, but we're ready to cast. We're ready to cast.
Yeah.
I think this is quite a kind of an obvious win for TT9 here. They're on their favored map, and they're overall, you would just say, the stronger team. They've had a bit of a slow start to Talent League. You know, that 8-6, we maybe wouldn't necessarily expect that. But going on to Barney's Trusted Dinosaurs, you'd think that they would have an easier time of things. And again, it's just all the odds kind of favor TT9 here.
Well, you've already gone to my first part. I was going to ask your predictions, Poobal, but well, you've already beat me to it. Golu, then. We haven't heard much from you. We haven't heard anything from you yet, actually. What is your prediction for today's match? Is there a mic issue? Although we can see you talking, but we can't hear you. Have you got your mic muted? Yeah, we're here. We're here. Well, we can't hear Golu for a moment. I'm not sure if we cut him off.
We're going to throw it a game. We're throwing it a game.
Nonetheless, guys, have a great cast and make it enjoyable.
So, heading into Clubhouse again. Apologies for technical issues. We're just trying to resolve that. Seeing a Thatcher ban very early on from TT9. That's going to be the first ban here. Quite an uncommon ban we tend to see now, with just a lot of operators kind of doing a similar job. A far cry from the times when Thatcher was just this perma ban. So overall, it's quite interesting here. You sacrifice that ban on something you'd perhaps think is something more strong, like even teams opting out of the Jackal maybe and not going away as well. These are two quite interesting bans. Nook is seeing a higher ban rate throughout these, especially these sort of lower tier leagues, because of the strategy it employs. Not necessarily going towards a full clear, maybe relying on kind of cheap strats, you'd maybe say. And Solus as well, a very strong operator that has really surged in the ban rates. Yeah, I think we're still having some production issues with Golly's mic. I don't know. We're trying to get it fixed. But Valkyrie, that final ban, Valkyrie, very, very strong. The cameras can provide just a wealth of intel, especially with the introduction of those yellow pings we've seen. It overall just makes the defense job a lot easier, because you just get this guaranteed intel. You don't have to worry about calls or sound in the game. You can just see them and ping them. So Valkyrie, one of the most sort of highly banned operators we've seen in competitive play recently, along with that Solus. But an interesting omission from this ban phase is that Azami, and Azo will be bringing that out to start off this basement defense. The Azami very strong left, practically unnerfed since release. Incredibly powerful gadget because of those barriers she provides. Bulletproof cover is it's a rarity in this game, and it's very valuable. It can really sort of change the way you hold up a site, because it offers these new angles, these new power positions that weren't available before. And we're seeing Sloth on that Fenrir, and it's always nice seeing a new operator. And I think, this is where I would tend to pass on to Golly, ask, okay, what do you think of the Fenrir? But we can test it. We can test it.
Are we back?
Can production hear it?
All right. I mean, yeah, I think Fenrir's... I'm interested to see how this works out for them.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, not going to get a whole round out of it. Kanto going pretty early on to the 417 of Solo. I mean, look, you grab that roamer off the board, Mozzie, the ability to play around with those drones later on, that's going to be an issue that will always come back to bite you later around. So you still have to watch out for those pests, but no longer, again, Kanto with that P10 roaming running around. It does make this position a little bit more difficult for Sloth as well to try and navigate. Going to be able to get away from the 1 scans coming through, reunite with the rest of the squad. But that top floor control now comfortably in the hands of these trusted dinosaurs. They can start to walk through and take that space away from themselves.
And with Sloth's gadget here, the Fenrir Dreadmine immediately activating Denser's position is known here. And we're just seeing a lot of value straight up from there from Sloth. As they're getting in an early gunfight when he retreats away, that's sort of the beauty of this site setup on Clubhouse. You can play these aggressive angles and fall back, and it wastes a lot of time. They have sacrificed a body on the side of defense. Kanto, as you said, going down very early. But, time is a valuable resource for the attack, so draining almost half the round, it's nothing to really scoff at here. It's not the greatest result. That Mozzie provides a lot of late round utility, a lot of late round pressure, but overall it is still just a decent start to this match, but perhaps not the one TT9 we really expected.
Yeah, and you've lost half now. very close in proximity, just hiding away. 2 quick kills falling over to TT9. They'll be very happy with that, as it really disrupts the flow of this assault now. With Katsola injured as well, you have to look to try and bring that line back up, available to continue in the round. But you're still afraid of pressure from smaller rounds, but I've been able to get that pick. Just watching down through the hatch, catching them as they try and fall back through blue. And that does buy them a little bit of space. TT9 now have to appreciate the fact that there is this Maverick who can get behind. We've seen this position being filled up into, but just feeding a second kill, people. Why are they feeding him?
Honestly, it's a case of time, and usually you'd think low time puts pressure on the attack, but it seems like the defense are really feeling the pressure, filling these positions, and well, BTD are just taking these free gunfights and entering that final 30 seconds. It's looking to be a rough defense now, 2 versus 3 on the side of TT9.
Noah's just looking to try and see if these feet holes they have set up are going to catch anyone dropping in blue. Has to be aware of the breach just to his right. Also looking to try and hold some of these longer angles for them, but they're going to get aggressive. The TCSG spotting the barrel, but not able to get any damage onto the Maverick, who's just boldly walking on in. You've got to look to the left, though. Your teammate's fallen. That's the pace going down. Noah's with a quick jump skill to try and hold on to this opening round. And Katsola does get one for the time that's been left alive in the round. You just hide behind the pillar. You wait it out. As a staying alive wins TT9 their opening defensive round.
Yeah, and it looked like it was starting off rough there. You saw TT9, they suffered an incredibly early loss. The Mozzie died very early, might have even been trying to spawn peek, I'm not too sure. But we then saw the time slowly tick away, and then that kind of pressure that builds up onto the attack, and they feel like they have to make a play, make a move. We saw 2 quick kills then go to the side of TT9, bring the advantage in their favor. Then they just start getting a little bit too cocky, a little bit too aggressive. They walk out into these angles and they're cut down. But ultimately, right back from the start, it was about time in that round. And, well, BTD just didn't have enough time for that execute. And they suffered. They took those final losses, get very close to 1v1. Again, TT9 still not content sort of playing their angles. They want to peak, they want to be aggressive, want to pad those stats, whatever. And did end up being quite a lot closer than before, but we're going to be seeing them in this gym bedroom site now. Kanto this time on the Fenris, not on Melusi. Melusi, not afraid, that's kind of fallen out of favour in the meta recently because of just how slow she is. She can't really sort of play that role of the fast, aggressive roamer because she's just too slow. She has the health to make up for it. It doesn't necessarily synergize with that playstyle or with the playstyle that a lot of people would really play her in. And, you know, ultimately, we have just seen her suffer as a result of that, but until he plays being made and stuff, he is a very capable gunner here heading into the game.
You'll be able to see, again, going upstairs and get over towards the view. You want to get access to that, right? But still important to make sure that you just deal with the rest of this attack. Fenrir, still in the lineup, now in the hands of Kanto. In their last matchup, we saw them bring it on 4 of their defenses on Origin, but it was always in the hand of Axis. We're seeing Kanto go for an aggressive swing out the breach. You lose access to that tool very early on. They were ready for it, right? And it's one of those things where you're playing a bit of a gamble here, Pooble. Do you try and catch them off? Not going to work out for them. This time, able to use the smoke to sneak past a good bit of the mirror window, but the bolt coming through into the smoke, spots the thermite around the corner, but can't land the shots.
Yeah, and this is just a messy start to the round. I'm going to hope Kanto activated his gadgets, because obviously they need to be activated to actually find any value, but you know, Fenrir maybe not the operator you'd expect to see running out of that breach, and now it's Sloth left in this 1v5, alone out of sight, aces down. It's one of those unwinnable situations we find the poor British gunner in, so, well, it's kind of just a go next moment, really. He gets a lovely kill there onto Zarok, but immediately cut down. And it was an interesting defense from TT9 there.
It kind of runs into the issue that we saw with TT9 on their last outing, right? Which is when their defense gels really well, they look unstoppable. They have each other's backs covered. They're ready to sort of pounce when openings line up for the attack. When it doesn't work, it's a completely different story, and this is one of those demonstrations. An aggressive early play looking for a pick gets punished. That leaves other players in positions where they don't really have a supporting piece to their spot. The mirror sat behind the window, trying to be aggressive, trying to catch out the thermite, and perhaps a little bit unfortunate, getting a little bit confused by the smoke and around the corner to not be able to net themselves that kill. but you're still finding lots of these players in isolated positions where they feel forced to go aggressive, to make a play to try and save the round for the team. When instead, sometimes a little bit slower, that's where we can see TT9 really fall into that comfort zone.
Yeah, I'm a little bit annoyed almost at the approach of TT9 here because they are a tier 1 team. We can't really beat around the bush. They are a tier 1 team. This should be a tournament about trialing things in this off-season, right? Trialing new rosters, new positions, new strats. But a few too many rounds, it seems like they've kind of been playing this a bit deathmatchy. We saw Kanto walking out that breach last round. He's going to be a lot more laid back this round from the looks of things. And it really just seems like a bit of a missed opportunity almost for TT9. They should be playing this a bit more seriously than it sometimes seems like they are, because they have the gun skill, they have the strats, they are a phenomenal team so far. They've won their first match, so a great start. But I kind of want to see a little bit more from them, and I think we should maybe be holding them to a higher standard than BTD. So, you know, running out of breaches can only get you so far. It kind of irks me a bit, and it seems like they've learned from their mistakes. You've got Azza now not running out of a thermite breach, playing very relaxed here in construction, just holding that position. And ultimately, it has resulted in the longest amount of time, I believe, with TT9 not sacrificing an opening pick.
Well, you know, you've got to occasionally give yourself more than a minute to play at full strength, and just taking down some drones instead, gathering the information. I cursed that. That's beautiful to see. I also like that we're seeing Vital Dinosaurs going for something different, and going from the other side of things, taking that CCTV, opening up a little bit into construction, playing below in kitchen with these nades to continue to support gaining that space across the rest of the floor. And it will force TT9 to have to adjust to this. You can't just look at what you personally did wrong last time around and fix those mistakes and meet them again. You are going to have to think very carefully about what Barney Trust Dinosaurs are throwing at you. And once again, going down this nade, looking for this second pick onto Kanto, not going to be able to find it, very close to catching off that fence.
Yeah, Kanto really just a little bit of a... They really avoided a bad situation there. Kendrew can't say the same for him. He gets cut down. Sloth does get swamped, and it's another bloodbath. We're not even into that final minute. 1 versus 4 for Kanto. These TT9 defenses up here are just crumbling. They have the utility. They have clearly good gun skill. Kanto win that one, but he's cut down by Rostin there. And it's another round in favor of BTD. Once again, TT9, they just can't seem to win these gunfights.
Ooh, it's just all on these quick executes coming out from Barney Trusted Dinosaurs, right? They're putting themselves in position, they're setting up slowly, they're getting onto the hatch above logistics, they're playing in construction, they're on the windows by sight, and they're just ready to push in together. The drop comes through, the Fenrir gadget pops off, but you can't really focus on it. You can't push into him actively, despite the fact that it should, in theory, be in a very vulnerable state. And it's just a great understanding from Barney Trusted Dinosaurs of what they want to be doing on these attacks to win. It's getting all around the defense, playing for these hits, and then just pushing in together so that there's no coming away for this man disadvantage that TT9 constantly are finding themselves in, which is scramble something back. They are very good at maintaining that advantage.
Yeah, well, nevertheless, we're still seeing this Fenrir play. The third player on TT9 picking up that position now. It's Kendrew, potentially holding Raptors. It certainly, Raptors screams like one of those positions you would see the Dread Mines being effective, because there's a lot of harsh angles the attack really have to push in through to get there, and that's really where the Dread Mines excel, with these sort of tight angles. You have to focus, sort of face away from a gunfight to focus on those mines. Sloth getting aggressive again. Didn't pay out for him round 1, but it's not really deterred him much. He's still going for these peaks. You know, perhaps a really early pick on the side of TT9 is what they need. Don't let BTD get in a position to get these confident executes going. Provide that early aggression. But, you know, early aggression has kind of been a thing that's really messed them up. You know, we saw these really ballsy plays. We saw Kanto running out that breach. Obviously, nothing of that level since. But still, they're getting quite aggressive. Sloth, he shoots that drone, protecting the intel of his teammate in bathroom. That's Kendrew. Kendrew's only got 2 of those mines active though, so we can't really afford to die this early.
Away inside a bathroom. The attack from the side of Barney Trusted Dinosaurs playing right into his wheelhouse here if he can stay quiet, but I believe the drone should have got him out now. The Buck turning away though, they didn't check it properly. Well, they didn't check it properly. Fortunately, he's gone for a second pick, been picked up by Apex, so they aren't too much of a loss here. They've been able to sort of pull things together, but that could have been a massive fumble in this round. And Kendrew getting aggressive, looking to try and accelerate that lead instead, kind of levels up the playing field against his own squad. The rest of the team all built up around site. You can see Kanto playing down below. You've got this Azami who can throw those keepers to try and support and reinforce some of these positions as they're whittled away at. But from the side of Dinosaurs, I really want to see someone starting to apply a little bit of pressure into Garage. But that being said, they've cleared out below. No more Kanto to fear.
Yeah, Apex takes down Kanto there through the vertical hole, I think. Unless Kanto was playing below, it would be a bit unusual for the Azami. And now the execute is coming in. We see Sloth fail an impact trick, but he's still getting very aggressive on these windows. You can criticize TT9 for many things. The aggression isn't one of them. It's technically a 1-for-1. Sloth, however, is fully killed, whereas Zara is just down. But as we said, Garage is left uncleared. Aza could be the spoiler for this attack if he can get away with a couple picks here.
User just looking at Noah, still holding onto this position with the mirror window in play. You see Apex down below. This is the big pressure point. If they can put more than one angle, more than one point of threat onto the mirror, you can push it aggressively, picking up the ace to give themselves that extra body that they're really going to want to be able to have to take on this crossfire position that's been set up. The patience from Apex here knows that the game plan isn't to try and win the 1v1, it's to create the confusion, and now will walk up when the mirror has to look the other way, collect the 3v. Yes, Asa gets one, but in a 3 vs 1, they should be able to close things out, and they are. Denster able to hold from the doorway, covering while their teammate moves into position to set down the case, and that's wonderful. Little bit of teamwork and just understanding the objective of the round.
Yeah, and I mean BTD have looked near flawless almost in this match. You know, TT9 they take that first round, but it was a bit of a bloodbath, and it was down to just 2 quick, sort of aggressive responses in that mid round. I'm going to just say, TT9, I've not actually seen them win in the early round throughout this map. It's been just quite poor performance from them. I can't really pinpoint exactly the issue. It's just these 1v1 gunfights are getting away from them, and we've seen some sort of mistakes from the side of BTD, but they're very good at maintaining composed, like staying composed. We saw, I think it was Rust on the butt, not clearing that angle, and annoying. It's a very easy angle to clear. It just takes one buckshot onto that wall. They're in that sharp position. See that? There's no one playing in there. They didn't. They paid the price, but it was a quick response, and they don't let that deter them. You see Apex getting very aggressive as a result of that, despite being in the man discord, being in the even man count with low time, still managing to get those picks. They aren't deterred by the sort of star power of this TT9 roster, and that's something I really appreciate in BTD, because it's making this a very entertaining match so far.
It's always nice when people are willing to take the fight to it, right? They don't have these, they're not playing scared. They don't have glass on them and go, oh, no, these guys are so good. They're like, no, these guys are good, but we're better, and we're just gonna clap them down a little bit, and they're doing that so far very successfully. Now you've got to attack into the only site you've lost so far. It is that basement. Could have been brought out last round, but instead TT9 wanting to go up to server instead. Maybe they can try and get here and then come down to basement. But Denster already looking to push quite aggressively up through construction. It's not being contested, it's been barricaded off instead. So TT9 making the call of, yeah, we're going to give this space. You're free to walk up as an attacking if you want to. We feel comfortable with the cover that we have around us and the positions that we're playing. Where just standing in that tunnel alone isn't going to be a big enough deal for us to worry about.
Yeah, and the tunnel, it's kind of almost... It's almost like it gives a false sense of progress, because you take all that dirt space, you think, okay, great, we've got a lot of ground here, but it doesn't actually give you that much. You still only have to funnel through a single door, and once that barricade goes down, the defense immediately know there's someone there, but then he rotates all the way around, kills Aza, potentially... I'm not sure where that gunfight was. Was he on main? I think he might have been peeking that main window, but it's another TT9 opening death, and Kendrew, he tries to make a play, he tries to be the hero of this round, but gets shut down by Apex. It's now a 5 versus 3. We're only just halfway through the round. Apex potentially about to get another one. Sloth backing away, realizing his life is precious here. Doesn't want to sacrifice another pick, as, well, BTD yet again look unstoppable.
This is okay though, it's basement. We saw what happened last time around. TT9, despite losing opening picks, were able to kind of wait for their moment and catch players off. You still know the live with that TCSG once again. Kanto just holding onto blue, takes down Denster, and now you can see the Selmas trying to be deployed, but getting caught off by the Electro Claw, and still just the waiting game now. 50 seconds is plenty of time to launch an attack, especially when Apex is able to land a free fire like that. Now making it 2, leaving everything down to Noah's in the 1 versus 4, who's able to trade one out, but so quick is Solar to move into position to cut them off, just recognizing, look, you're distracted with my buddy, I'm gonna catch you from behind. Barney's trusted dinosaurs again, people, just keeping up the pressure, keeping up this excellent form.
Yeah, and Apex has been nuts this map. We talk about
What a
confidence.
beast.
He is the confident player, just pushing down that main stairs, pre-firing that angle, catching Sloth, lacking. Don't really know why he was hard holding that angle. You have the window at your disposal, but confident is gun skill, I guess, but he pays for it. BTD, an incredible start when we're seeing TT9. They're going to spend that last defensive round on the only site they've won. Way back in round 1, this almost a far cry of what they were back then. As well, BTD have just been unstoppable in every phase of these rounds. And this is... It kind of... It almost seemed like it's emblematic of a bigger problem we might see on TT9's attacks, right? Because sort of opening kills, I think most people would agree, are a lot easier to get on that defense. So if we're seeing BTD getting very aggressive, getting these very easy, almost uncontested opening picks on their attack, they could be a formidable defensive side here in Clubhouse, and TT9's problems might just get even worse going onto this attack, because well, they just might not be able to get any ground if BTD maintains this composure, maintains this confidence, maintains this mechanical skill. Then TT9 are just going to be left in a hopeless situation, really.
It's a positive for sure, especially when you're looking at how once again we're seeing this road coming through from TT9. They want to have pressure upstairs. This makes sense, right? But again, there's quite a lot of distance between these two roamers in the partnership, and with how Barney's Dinosaurs have been playing, they've been very good at getting into cut-off positions, making it very difficult for TT9 to link up and go for refragability on these roams, and that's what's led to a lot of these very quick one-offs happening in either direction. You can see Denver just holding the middle, Slot trying to come back to support his teammate, gets shot down, and now this mainstay position held by Apex. There's pressure coming from below as well as in far. The Doki calls coming through, starting to give a little bit of information paired with the drones and now on angles. Again, a great job from Barney Dinosaurs to deny the ability to play off of each other. But it doesn't matter, they're still able to find 2 quick kills. Abba catches the dropping Denster, pair that with a well-placed Nitro cell to take down Sledge. TT9 run, grab 2 kills, flee back to site here, Boo. They're kind of in control again.
Yeah, and Kendrew doubles down on that, but what a phenomenal play from Azza there. Great game sense. He takes that vertical fight with a Nitro, finally trades on an opening pick, but he knows immediately, okay, BTD, they're playing as a team, they're playing for trade. Someone is probably going to challenge on this angle. Wins out that fight, narrowly, but he still wins it out, and Kendrew finally sort of picks up the pace, gets another kill, and we're likely going to see another TT9 defensive round here, so it's not all over, but still BTD have been good in these executes, potentially good in this clutch. We've seen rounds like this slip away from teams before. TT9, they can't be lacking when it comes to this execute, because BTD have just been so strong. These are just phenomenal players on their side, really showing up in the face of this Herculean task almost.
Never say never. TT9 last week did drop a 2 versus 4, which ended up in a 1 versus 3. So there's always a chance for Barney Shot Dinosaurs here. The proximity alarm giving away the push from the Doki walking down, both on either side. The Vulcan being popped, a nice access, but still able to win out the gunfight with DMR. Gets a second, looking for the third, peppering shots through the wall, notices a player around the chassis of the A-bomb. Hiding away, 17 seconds on the clock, and the fire continuing to tick away to deny them access in. Kanto,
so doable.
Oh. Gives away his position, gets spot on the table, but it's thrown underneath the table, grabs the double to secure a second defensive win. They get 2 out of the 6 on their defensive half of Clubhouse here, Booble, and honestly, that was a lot closer than it possibly should have been. But they will be at least happy to not be looking down the 5-1 just monument of a half that they would otherwise have been in the position of.
And like, if you look at it this way, if a few, like 1 or 2 gunfights go the other way, we're looking at a 6-0 half here. That first round for TT9 was by no means dominant. It was incredibly close. BTD really kind of should have been winning that off the board, but they let it slip away, and they let that final round slip away. But apart from that, 4 rounds in a row, a dominant streak from BTD, and they're keeping this aggression going. They're bringing the Cav goal. What do we think about this? What do we think about an operator that kind of slips away from competitive play?
Gangster. It's just gangster. That's all you have to say, right? Look, you're coming into this, you get that tab up in logistics, you keep it hidden. They even popped the silence deck just in case the Jackal hits the table, right? If they are going to be looking with that Inox tracker, you ain't seeing anything. And you can see it immediately come through for Sloth, and this makes a lot of sense. Against a team like Barney's Trusted Dinosaurs, who have been so aggressive, who you just know are going to want to play aggressively on the roam, they're bringing the Vigil, and they're bringing the Cab as well, but the Vigil, again, like, this is an operator who we really don't see as much anymore. We used to be such a demon for defensive lineups. The kind of change up in the way that the game went in recent years, you know, heavy investment into utility being so important, then moving over to things like Solace being introduced, who can do a little bit better job of shutting down the information, gathering information rather than just sort of hiding yourself. But the hall being opened up might force this Vigil into an early fight. Gets a little bit of damage onto the Jackal, onto Sloth. Just keeps on moving forwards.
What? Okay, so Apex just wins that gunfight against Sloth. Nothing big. That's his 9th kill of the map. And, well, I was going to try and say I like the overall strategy here. You have the Vigil providing just so much attention. You see that sort of distortion effect is present throughout a large portion of the map. And that would allow Den to really go by unnoticed. But as the Vigil goes down back to sight, Den kind of just has to slip on by. Narrowly avoids Azza now. Azza, he's on the hunt though. He heard that ball go through. He wants to try and even this out, get this pick, but BTD just aren't going to give any opportunities. They aren't going to repeat the sort of the flaws of TT9's defense here, because they just know they have this man advantage. This is an easy round win if they just play safe on site.
Everything we're learning about this Barney's Trusted Dinosaurs defense just screams of more and more gangster. Like, they really not care that it's TT9. Cat. Wonderful, that's gangster. Vigil, just walking at garage door. Gangster. MH70 on Jaeger. Gangster. Like, I'm here for it. This is brilliant to see. And this hatch still not being opened due to just the plethora of impacts being used. A little bit of a waste there from Denton. Didn't have to throw that second one so quickly, especially after catching 4 pellets being dropped by Noahs at the same time. But Azza finally able to grab that opening pick he's been looking for, shut down the Vigil, just this insane amount of verticality finally starting to pay off for them here. But with Kitchen Hatch just being opened up, they do have access through Moto as well. 50 seconds for them here to play with people. They're going to have to try and look for this next opening on the actual site.
And they're going to have to funnel in through hatch drops and doorways. We see a trade go down. It's actually in the favor of TT9, that gun skill finally paying its dividends, but still, you've got that Warden, doesn't have a knife herself, so there's no actual indirect plant now. Katsola has to hold the long angle with a pistol because of the aforementioned MH70. And it's very much looking like TT9 have managed to salvage this round, and final pick from Kanto confirms that. A good response from TT9 to that very early aggression, that just ballsy aggression from Apex and Garage there.
Yeah, and that is kind of what can happen when attacking onto the basement, right? If you can get down, you can by Church open on up, you have control of Moto and you're watching down into Bloom. When that's no longer a threat, you can start to walk into Church pretty comfortably, and just holding these longer angles like they're doing, enabling just the ability to play very safely, watching the crossfires and nine rotations. And that's how TT9 ultimately came out on top in that round, right? Especially with the use of verticality. That's how they got both of those 2 opening picks for themselves to then enable the transition into pushing the Church. And now, you lose the basement site. What happens next? You're going to go somewhere else. You don't want to linger too long. You don't want to overstay your welcome. Instead, you force TT9 to attack somewhere different. And again, some interesting choices coming through here. The castle, like classic on Jim, just to get to control some of these windows. Rams are liking that they are looking to extend underneath the site as well. We saw them making good use of nades from below to catch players off, to try and make these very comfortable positions, especially positioning around mirror windows, a little bit uncomfortable. So, taking a sort of aggressive stance to prevent you from doing the same thing.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. It's a bit sort of like an inversion of those sort of longer basement rooms you'd see with these two castle barricades on the bar. You tend to see them actually covering the retreat of a Roma, but here they're just straight up for defense to allow Zarok here to just play below, stop those nades. And I don't sort of want to jinx it, but this overall lineup seems a lot less aggressive. Sure, you got the bandit, he's he's tricking in the bathroom. So, again, I don't want to jinx it, but I think we're going to see a kind of more laid-back round from BTD here. They're just going to play their positions, not going to peek anything they don't have to. We're seeing Dan just hiding behind this shield. So, it should be a slower-paced round, and that could maybe be an opportunity for TT9 there. If they provide the aggression themselves, they're incredibly quick with a fast take. They could catch them off guard, and Dan caught off guard by a nade. There must have been some kind of blind spot there from the Wamai magnets, or Sloth from below even. Yeah, the magnet's too far up, so Sloth can just roll up there, get that pick. And now BTD are in a situation I don't think they've ever seen before, an uncontested opening death.
It's not enough support for the position that Denster was in. Opening up a little bit of the wall, it's got Soda upstairs to get the pick onto Azza. Still aware of someone lurking around the corridor below, but kind of backed off after that hole was opened up by Zarok, and instead focusing on playing for this main breach, looking a little bit more directly towards the site. With opened up, it makes walking up the main stairs a little bit more difficult, though. You have to be cautious of the fact that there is a giant opening in the wall looking right at you, and so both Zarok and Apex potentially caught off in a little bit of an isolated spot.
Yeah, and we're kind of seeing the double-sided nature of that setup, because it's incredibly hard to get around to that garage side because of the castle barricade. So, in effect, Zarok, he's trapped down there. It's a very long rotate, or he can try and peek the breach, so he has to kind of pick the best of two bad options, and we're seeing Sloth now peeking into this mirror window. That's not a great option for him, but he's got confidence in his gunfight, confidence in his team's overall positioning that it's clear. And, well, he's right in that gamble. There's no one behind that window, and he can take logistics office for pretty much free.
Gets one, looking for the second, can't get the damage onto Kendra, who's able to clean up with a double of their own, looking to try and contest a third with the pistol. He's going to be forced back to take a breather, but Noah's is able to get down. Apex is all left on the hands of Zarok to find 3 more players. The mirror window giving the information required to Kanto, sat inside master bedroom to finish off the round. And they have come back on the second half of this game, a couple fumbles on their defense, but they know exactly how to break down Barney's Trusted Dinosaurs. 2 in a row, levels us back at 4-4 here. I mean, look, we sort of said it, right? TT9, the team that has the experience, the team that should be able to come back from a position like this. Do they do it now? Do they just clean us up?
Well, it's really surprising, honestly, because, again, the starts of the rounds haven't been the best. They did get that opening pick, and it was untraded for quite a while. Fortunately, Azza was taken down. So you would kind of expect the defense to be winning these rounds. They're coming in with these unconventional setups as well. It's a whole new puzzle for TT9 to solve. And they kind of just gone with sort of the brute force response. They just go for a fairly default take there, and they kind of just circumvent the setup entirely. They don't really pay too much attention downstairs. Azza was the only player to fall victim of that setup. And it really allowed them the utility to take these other positions that weren't as heavily guarded. There's a big sort of question mark there towards Den on that shield without any defense, just easily taken out by Sloth. But we're going to be seeing basement now. We're still seeing that Wamai in play, so hopefully they've learned from that. They're going to pick some more easy to defend spots. Zarok getting an incredibly nasty angle through those shells, but at the same time it's an angle I think we've seen previously in this matchup, so it doesn't quite hold that surprise factor you maybe expect if you saw it first time in a ranked matchup. You know, it's gonna get droned out, or it's just been seen before in other rounds, so it doesn't hold as much potency there. But nevertheless, we can still see some cheeky kills coming through that angle. But TT9, they've got an incredibly easy job on this Roma, right? Because from the looks of things, there aren't any Romas. It's a full-on turtle defense downstairs, so they're just gonna be chasing Ghost of her.
Bit jazzy. I like it. I'm always here to see the fun little quirky things coming out, and the team just showing a little bit of creativity with some of these map knowledge. You know, it's like, ooh, what if I shot you through 3 cabinets and a wall? It's like, hey, I'm here to see it. Sign me right up. setting up the hole very comfortably down in towards blue. The first nade being used to clear out a little bit of barbed wire. Just want to make sure that when you want to walk down, you're not going to get slowed down, you're not going to have your ankles sort of ruffling away to get yourself away. A little bit of damage done onto Apex, using the ability from Arpon Secret Stairs to draw some of these longer lines of sight if you're not careful around the boiler. And because of the lack of roam coming out from Barney Shuster Dinosaurs this round, it's been very quick for TT9 to start applying a bit of this pressure, right? In 2 minutes, they were very comfortably in control of the middle floor, and now you're just looking to see what can they do to dislodge some of these players. Sat away in the back of the kitchen as Zarok gets aggressive, he's going to eat a chunk of damage for it. Let's get some onto Kendrew, but ultimately not enough for net himself.
And I like that though, because we saw a player getting taken down through those angles when they were trying to impact trick, so it's a nice bit of adaptation there. And I don't even think the intention ever was to impact trick, with only one set of those nades. You really just want to kind of bait in a kill, and Zarok nearly gets that, takes Azza down low as well. And well, despite getting that kitchen hatch open, the defense has not been dislodged. They're still in positions. The flashbangs come out from Noah, and Spot Nade as well comes in to try and get a player down in this dummy box position. But Katsula just rotates away. Spot does get that pick, but doubles it down actually at 5 versus 3 now. Surely Noah TT9 win here, making it 3 in a row as Noah, he's going to put that case down. Zarok and Katsola just sort of isolated away from where the action's going on. Zarok very low behind those AKs, and now it's a 2 versus 3.
Gets one injured. There's still a player by main stairs looking to try and get the damage done, but Kanto grabs one, able to push up behind. You're looking at the injured. It's all down to Dopey to try and find out inside of the site. They're able to collect the kill onto the injured Herbana. For 25 seconds, 7 of those have to be used to commit to the defuse. You've got to watch out for the rotation, because that's what's being looked at. One on kitchen hatch, look to try and drop when they can. Reunite with the team, takes the turn on both, but they're able to clutch it out just both at the same time, and there's nowhere for Kanto to turn around, get back to the diffuser. Barney Shutter Dinosaurs finally grabbing themselves a defensive win, and it was a very nice retake, understanding the importance of that player above.
It was a phenomenal retake. I mean, I'm guilty of jinxing that attacking side, I guess. I was for sure that TT9, they were going to win that. They had that solid 2-man advantage there. They had the vertical control, but BTD, they somehow managed to isolate these one-on-one gunfights, and they win them out, and they maintain that lead, which we thought was going to slip away from them. And most importantly of all, they stopped TT9's momentum. Back to square one now. You know, once a professional team like this gets a few rounds rolling, you kind of start sort of panicking a bit. If you're on the side of BTD, you think, okay, well, you know, if they get 2 rounds, well, they're in the good mindset. They potentially get a third. They potentially start just overall experiencing like better gameplay, showing off better gun skill. So it's a great retake there. Good for the morale, good for the sort of momentum blocker there. It means they don't have to use a timeout as well, because you'd expect if TT9 win that, you'd probably see a timeout, right? Because you really want to just stun that momentum. You don't want to let TT9 just slip away with this, steal it directly from under them. So not having to burn that timeout and still having the sort of desired effect of holding momentum is a great outcome for BTD there. And as we said, they're still in the lead. They're still up 5-4 against this tier 1 team.
5-4 isn't a window. You've got to find a way to consolidate that, not only into round 6, not only into the match point, but into a win if you want to come away with the maximum points from this series. A little bit of tickle damage dealt onto Sloth from the spawn peak, plus Kendrew getting shocked and touched by the electric walls, looking to try and apply some mavericking to the wall to get it opened up. Wonderful little bit of the maverick tricking away just to make this accessible. Impact trying to come out to dissuade him from hanging around, but it's not going to be enough. Angle at the top and riveting stuff. Fantastic form from Kendrew to get the breach opened for TT9. No need to mess around with the claw. Now you're looking at the back. Apex on the stairs. Fighting push coming in from Jacuzzi. And he's going to pay him off. The Slave's just waiting patiently. Azza grabs the one pick. Yes, they lose Kanto on the main breach, but it's after he's done his job of opening it up. So I think you can be okay with that trade. You now have that backwards presence, and Barney's Trusted Dinosaurs players inside of the site are going to have to think twice.
with the health advantage, it still does sort of side with BTD there. Kendry did take a lot of chip damage from that bandit wall, and Sloth, I'm not sure where he suffered that early damage from. Potentially from a peek out of a window or a door, very early on. It is slowly making its way through construction, though. He saw off the advances of Apex there. And they're looking in a fairly good spot for an execute. Garage, though, with this mirror window, something we didn't really point out because, well, it was sort of away from all the action, but they've got an open mirror window there. I do like that, but it's not being used. Katsola gets that pick, and now this is looking like a BTD round. 4-2 up. No, we can't doubt TT9 here. We've seen glitches happen, and Noah... Oh dear, Azza. Noah gets his way into the site, misses a few crucial shots, and is shut down, and... It was looking almost like a TT9 round there before they really start bleeding those kills there.
Barney's Trusted Dinosaurs putting themselves on that match point, 1 round away from claiming 3 whole points here against TT9. TT9 pushed their last game to overtime and then had to close it out in that 8-6 fashion. So, you know, they're not going to be too worried in this position, I don't think, but the tactical timeout coming through, or the technical timeout, sorry, coming through, just to give themselves a little bit of time while they get themselves back in, while they fix their issues and get back into the lobby. You know what? I think this is a good opportunity for them to have this break. They can just figure out what they want to do to close out these last 2 attacks. The biggest problem for me, coming in from the side of TT9, is that when you're looking at how Barney's Trusted Dinosaurs were pushing and punishing in the late round, it was a lot of simultaneous pushes. Players moving in at the same time. A drop would come through, there's another player walking through a doorway, so you have to pick and choose one of them, and you're already kind of isolated. Barney's Trusted Dinosaurs not making the same mistake. They are standing in positions where if you want to try and overextend onto one player, there's at least 1 or 2 others who are in a little side angle, ready to try and challenge your own entry, and you're not seeing TT9 having the same success at finding picks moving on into sight. And that's what's leaving them in positions like the last round, where, yeah, you're in a 4 versus 4, but it doesn't matter, because at no point are you being given freebies. At no point are you actually carving out space for yourself to walk into. You might get a kill, but someone's picking up the position, they're getting ready to punish you again. They're fighting so hard and getting such little value for it in the rounds that they're losing.
Yeah, I think a good way of sort of describing it is TT9 here are playing as like 4 individuals who are communicating, but BTD are playing like a five-man team here, you know? So they're really good at these trades. As we said, there's only 1 uncontested opening death from BTD there. They've been great on their entries, and even when they lose them, quickly a trade snaps up that player, immediate evening of that body count. But like overall, it just seems like TT9, they are lacking almost in this communication aspect. BTD really are on another level here, and it's great to see. And if they finish this out here 7-4, they're in a great spot, right? Because 7-0 earlier on, that's great for your round differential. Yeah, that's +7. Winning 2 with a great round differential, I don't want to jinx it. I've been jinxing a lot of teams, but you're surely qualified for playoffs, right? If you win this match. So it's a really just important win for BTD here, and it looks very, very likely because they've sort of been just storming them.
Defenders, protect your bombs from being defused by attackers.
I don't want to add to the pile. I think, yeah, we've kind of covered the issue there tonight, but it's consistency. The rounds they win, they look phenomenal. The basement attack they had, like, just absolutely mint stuff, right? Getting the control, forcing players back. They're looking like true form TT9. We need to see that coming to the forefront just a little bit more frequently, and with the Super Run Gym coming through once again, I'd expect to see something similar from TT9, a very methodical, slow breakdown. From Barney's Trusted Dinosaurs, they need to find a way, if they're going to be extending, if they're going to be having a shield playing at the top of red, you need to give it better support. How isolated was this playing last time around? He had a shield, 1 magnet, no one playing inside of cache, no one inside of server or garage getting fire options. It was the next player was in construction, and they weren't really paying attention to the push coming in towards the frost. You've got to find a way to back up your roamers a little bit more in these situations. That's the rounds where they lost that uncontested pick, because they just left someone on an island for no real reason. Barney's Trusted Dinosaurs Massive opportunity for them here. They should continue playing together as a unit.
Yeah, and this setup here is interesting, because you've got Zara. It must be Zarok in that basement. He's down there setting the bar. He's got those echo drones, so they're almost playing for the clock here. That immediately seems like their win condition if you're bringing that echo along. You want to just run down the clock, so it makes sense that you have this extension here, and then he's being a lot more mobile than last time. He's not hiding behind a shield. He's got those keeper barriers to hide behind if need be. So that kind of avoids the issue of a nade here, but they don't even seem to be paying that much attention. It seems almost like a tub side take here with no real entry. You know, a whole minute off the clock now, and no one has even touched that east side of the map.
Still a little bit of pressure down below, and Zach will have to be careful as they're starting to walk through strip spots. The arm just dancing underneath the Moto doorways. The calls come through to isolate the position. The drone meeting it as well. Kanto able to get a pick onto Apex. He was trying to rotate up secret stairs as a lot of BTD are starting to crumble here. Quick trade out, but still leaving themselves in that man disadvantage. Slop has gone down. If you remove the set of nades from play, Azza no longer looking to get as aggressive. Kanto still wanted to lurk around down below, and Benster punishing him for it. The keeper just making that angle so difficult to contest. Watching towards main stairs, I'm going to throw a little grenade in here to try and catch someone off if they're playing at the top of that logistical doorway, but there's no one doing so. Able to move in, deny this mirror window, and then get themselves on into sight. The shot coming through though for Denster, able to get the thermite, able to get the ace as well. This site just dropping to pieces. Azza grabs one. 1 versus 2 to keep the team alive, to keep the game going. Knows there's one on the staircase. Giving themselves a little bit more an easy rotation option into the bathroom. Do they know the second is lurking inside of logistics? We can see those outlines, but of course the players can't. Walling isn't allowed. Grabs the diffuser. Now starting to walk through slowly, just again being very cautious of these angles. 30 seconds is enough time to try and take 2 1v1s, and it will be 2 1v1s because neither of these Barney Trusted Dinosaurs players want to be the player to give up their life. They don't want to isolate themselves, and with this plant going down, you're starting to see the movement going in. Has to come off the plant, try and commit on the corner, wins the first gunfight. It's a kill, for the clutch, and is able to find it. Playing around the corner, Azza just waiting, patiently and pouncing at the right time.
And that was great. You see him fake that plant. He's likely thinking, okay, they have cams on me. We can try and bait this out. And he does that beautifully. He sticks it nearly to the end, swings out, kills the Echo, who, well, I'm not quite sure what the decision-making process exactly was. He wanted to get that kill rather than disrupt it. And perhaps the drones weren't actually in play at all. But he gets very up close and loses the gunfight. And then Azza knows he's against likely a Nitro Cell, right? So you can't really play for this plant here, you have to go for the gunfight. He plays it perfectly. And that's going to be one of those rounds that's a real stinker for the defense. You should have won that, you should have won the whole match out of that. And you know, if they don't sort of maintain their composure, we could very easily see this round slip away. And TT9 bringing us to quite an unexpected overtime. But they still have to win this 12th round, and BTD have looked very strong throughout this map. Surely don't want to let this slip away. We're seeing basement in play. Probably statistically the most defender-favored site on this map, right? You know, CC isn't really played much anymore. Bedroom's a toss-up. No one's really confident enough to go bar, so basement is really your go-to defensive win site, and well, they have a prime opportunity to lock out this series right here, right now.
That's what makes this round so interesting here, right? Because you think about the last time Barney Trusted Dinosaurs played it, they won it. Sure, congratulations. But let's think about it for a moment. It was off of a retake. It was off a couple of fortunate plays, some good timing on the side of the defense, if we're being completely honest, to catch off 9 members in rotation. Sloth pushing up through blue, not checking the back of the generator. That's the sort of mistake that they won't be looking to make again. And with the way that the setup of the round was, right, the setup from TT9, I'm expecting to win that 7 out of 10 times they attack into it in that position. And you're looking at the odds of that, you're looking at them coming back into this with a different lineup. They drop the ace, they're grabbing that Habana, still of course to get access to catches, but what they bring instead, the Candelas are going to be amazing for creating that space to get into church. And getting into church, holding on to church was the real issue that they ran into. If they can use these Candelas to forge themselves that space, it's going to be very difficult for BTD to try and find their way back into the round.
Yeah, and the great thing with the Candelas is they also serve as a good sort of bait for that wall. There's multiple operators on the attack who bring those flashes, those smokes, right? There's only one defender who can actually counter that, so it becomes a bit of like a resource management simulator. Where do you want that warden playing? Where do you think it's pushing them? Because if BTD gamble right, that's the round one, that's the match one. But if they gamble wrong, they will allow TT9 to just slip in, get site pressure, get potentially a plant down if they're feeling risky. So it's really up to Katsola here to see, okay, where do I play? Where are they most likely to bring that utility? Where can I get a pick? Where can I potentially just disrupt this whole execute? Because with a minute left, TT9 are going to start thinking about this execute. They don't want to fall prey to the timing that was lost so many attacking rounds before. They want to sort of win this on their own terms, get onto the site on their own terms, not be pressured in. Because the pressure that clock provides is so good for the defense. I think it's counter drop.
Dropping with that shield to protect him, gonna drop it now, so they can't really contest from inside that tunnel. Oh, he picks it up again and started turning that defender down. That's the classic issue with the Osa. Backing up, you've got to be careful of the corridor, and he needs to be staying in control, because if they have the footholds, you can always be caught up from the side. But the job of TT9 are just preventing any of this movement. That Candela's forging the space for the long angle to cut down the defense. And just watching above, watching from main stairs, there is no opportunity for Barney's Trusted Dinosaurs to pull off one of these miracles, to pull off one of these incredible solo plays we've seen from players, and instead a flawless round to cement and force us into overtime. And with TT9 starting on the attack after they've had a couple slip-ups, but mostly looked very comfortable, this is where it starts to get just a little bit dangerous for the side of Barney's Trusted Dinosaurs, especially when you're seeing this massive shift up in the way that they're playing. We're no longer seeing heavy commitments to the run. We're no longer seeing lots of aggressive at the start. Look at that last round. They are giving so much space over to TT9. They're showing too much respect. I want to see this aggressive nature just come back from the Barney's Trusted Dinosaurs. I want to see them go for something crazy, risk it all. Because if it works, not only is it all, not only is it a godly play, it's entertaining, but it just sends the message, we are starting this hard.
Yeah, and well, if you just look at the sort of round history going into this, right? You've got that 1v3 still fresh in the mind of TT9, and you've got that flawless round as well. The mood in the TT9 camp is going to be just immaculate going into this overtime. You see Noah on the glass here, they're bringing out a pocket strap, wanting to just get that one round advantage up now, settle it in 8-6 fashion almost. So TT9, they're gonna be gunning here. They're gonna likely be pretty aggressive because they have the confidence. It's back, it's returned after a phenomenal round 11 and 12. They are certainly playing like a tier 1 team now in this league.
I'm so excited if they do what I think they're going to do, which is to drop the smoke on the breach, just sit on the breach and just watch it as Glaz. Glaz is near and dear to my heart. I love me some Glaz when we get to see it come into play. Instead, just opening up the wall in pretty standard fashion, they'll be able to remove that, give themselves that access, and you avoid the classic reasons for a magic trick. You avoid the shenanigans around electro floors, you can focus on other things. Garage control is going to be very important for them to continue this, if that's the side they choose for. But still, just a little bit of patience here from TT9. They don't want to rush. They want to make sure that they're gathering the information, and spotting out 2 of those ADSs is quite a big deal. You know, there's 2 less inside of Garage that you're going to have to try and fight your way through. Still the Amani, still the Magnus that are going to be deployed more as the round elaborates.
Noah's holding on to... Oh!
Noah's injured.
Down. I mean, that's smoke, right? That smoke, you wouldn't know it to be watching Catwalk, yeah? But he just gets injured down. But that being said, BTD now in a 1 versus 5. And the strat, it might not have gone to plan, but it sure as hell seems to have worked.
It's using smoke to force their way into sight. Noah's going down. It's not ideal, obviously. You can just keep on pushing. And with all the focus being brought back into the site, it just enables Sloth to walk up into Gary and take that by command. Does lose Kanto on the backside of things, but still 4 members available. The turn with a pistol not going to be enough. That secures the win in the first round of overtime here. TT9 taking the advantage once again. We haven't seen them have the lead in a very long time. And now 1 round away from the win. Is this just the 8-6 team? Is it just their destiny?
It might well be. I want to praise those TT9 attacks though, because I believe it's 2 times they've attacked that site, and we've seen this unconventional mirror on the catwalk wall, yeah? So that still provides line of sight, but it means it can't be breached through. So that really limits the mobility of the defense. So and the attack as well. I think the sort of thought process there is if your Rafter player dies, the attack either have to commit hard breach or vault through the window. So the attack realize it's just not that worth it, right? Your defender there is isolated. You can still take from other angles, and TT9 haven't really wasted any utility trying to get a position that won't help them. So that's just really good thought process, really good sort of problem solving in that drone phase. And overall, that it's just sort of it's kind of the telltale signs of a tier 1 team, right? Being able to break down those problems, not in the pre-match, but during the rounds themselves. And it's produced wondrous results for TT9 on these attacks.
The irony of me asking for quick and aggressive and assertive plays from BTD to set the tone of the round, and we just see a rush through the breach coming in from TT9. Like, and it works, right? Because you just see how much chaos and confusion. Rushes work best either really early in a game. You basically it's like the equivalent of like a break test, right? You're saying, are you ready? If we're there in 20 seconds, are you ready to deal with it? The other time is right at the end of the game, when everyone's found their footing, when the pace of a match has sort of been settled and determined, and you just completely flip the script and you have the breach open. BTD is looking at this going like, okay, they have breach, they're probably going to be looking for the garage next, they might have Avid flanking around, watch out, whoever we have playing over by master bedroom, he's probably peeking by shooting. It's like bang, inside. Oh, we should probably turn around, we should deal with the site pressure, right? Bang, slot, ready on garage doorway, taking down heads.
5 seconds left.
Brilliant to see. Now on the defensive end of things, we're seeing the return of the Fenrir. It's Azza, the player who was rocking it on their last game day, rocking it again here today. I'm interested to see how this helps them on the second. And just for information, being able to spread that out gives you a little notification, makes these gunfights a little bit more quirky to take, especially when you're looking at things like blue. If you can pop them in the right positions, great. But BTD off to a tremendous start in a very important round for them. It's Kanto going down early once again, and this time on the revive, on someone who you want to be alive to give you those gadgets as the round sort of unfolds.
Yeah, look, Kanto is a story player, but that's kind of inexcusable. If you're going for these aggressive picks, right, you'd pick something like the Kaid, maybe like the Castle, just any kind of set it and forget it utility. But as he said, Wamai, he only gets stronger as the round progresses with those gadgets in play. You know, at least it's not something like the Fenrir where you really need to be juggling that utility later on to the round, but still an opening pick, and it's a very impactful opening pick. Azza still has this top floor control, and it honestly looks like BTD, they aren't really too concerned with flushing him out. They're content just holding their angles. There is a player on this roof potentially trying to bait with the Havana charges, baiting Azza into a more exposed position. Drone goes out, is shot, but still no bodies are actually going out to clear him, so it's a big gamble from BTD just allowing that Roma to stay up there.
Half the round has gone. Like you mentioned, just the ability to still be upstairs behind with dinosaurs is going to be a problem. They know that there's someone up above, and they're trying to use these pellets to open up the hatch without dealing with the electric floor directly. Finally, just walking up and taking down Azza. Now 2 players in advantage for them. Both that room sets up, the remaining 3 all down below. The nitro cell going off, but not landing on a target. This gives you an option to draw that line of sight. Has to back away now, and this is where you start to see openings to rise, especially a site like a basement. Which angle are you going to pick? Which angle are you going to choose as Apex now starting to apply that pressure to
Yeah, it's going to be a tough ask for TT9 defending here, but we've seen these last-minute attacks get cut down fairly easily by some defensive teams. The whole nature of the basement attack is it funnels the attackers down through patches and doorways. Sloth getting in a gunfight, but he loses life. 1 versus 5 now as Kendry's taken down. Noah in blue gets 1, secures his kill, at least managing to pad his stats, but immediately responded to by Den. And well, we're 7-7, round 15 all the way with TT9. They aren't an 8-6 team, but they could still be those overtime victors.
I mean, 15 rounds to split these two teams is not what I had necessarily expected coming in. But I think TT9 are the sort of team that are going to give you chances, and Barney's Trusted Dinosaurs have been very good at taking them as they arise. TT9 one attack win away. Barney's Trusted Dinosaurs need to try and find a way to pull things together on the defensive end. They're going back to gym and bedroom, and this is going to be giving them a little bit of a flashback to some particularly annoying play from Azza, who was able to win out that 1 versus 2. You don't want to be in that position once again. Still, more changes coming through from Barney Trusted Dinosaurs. Every time we've seen it, they've gone with something slightly different. The castle was dropped off the second round in favour for the Echo, who's now been dropped in favour of the Maestro. And we talked about this before, right? When Azza was in that 1v2, he runs into Jim to go for the plant. There was no yokai there, or he didn't. I'm assuming there wasn't one in position, but I feel like otherwise it would have been.
They would have used it, right?
Use it, right?
Yeah.
They would have used it if it was there. It wasn't there. The Maestro camera gives you the option to go for it. You can just stick it in Jim. It's a little bit more obvious. It sticks out like a sore thumb, right? You see this giant yellow, like white ball just stuck to the wall, and a spit of explosive will get rid of it, even if it's just punched. It makes it a lot harder to play for some sort of contest play later on. So I'm interested to see how this is going to shape up the round.
Yeah, and the other sort of glaring point with the Maestro is that gun. Maybe just the fear of that rush is still sort of lingering in BTD's head, so you just want all 80 rounds of good old-fashioned bullet to just try and take down those attackers. But TT9, they're going to play this a little bit more sensibly. It is round 15 after all. They're just taking their time, getting these angles open, establishing cutoffs, establishing intel. And it is just going to be a slower attack. We're seeing that Dakaibi likely to clear out these Romans. Again, playing this position with the Azami this time, but it still doesn't look very fortified. You don't see that many Wamai mines there. There's one on the door, but he could still fall victim from below. And with that magnet being used, he has to go for the swing, and Sloth cuts him down. And well, TT9, 1 man up, entering the second half of this final round. Things not looking good for BTD.
What did they do? They left someone by themselves on red stairs. What happened? They got cut off. Kanto sat above strip, just able to grab a second pick onto the bandit inside of sight. Just playing on these windows, holding on angles that you're not really expecting to get called out from. And you've just been checked. You pushed your luck, you failed. And now they have to try and figure out what they want to do here in the 3 versus 5. A minute 20 is plenty of time for TT9 to do exactly what they want. He turns away after getting the first pick. And Sloth, despite being on 1 HP, continuing to be a massive factor in the final round of this game. No matter what, it all ends here. 1 minute left to play with. Zarok and Katsola, the 2 members left for BTD. If they want to see the points going their way, they have to win the 2 versus 4 clutch.
Zarok has begun for it. That Alba we were mentioning, the Vector also not half bad in the clutch. They can still pull it off, but as TT9 open yet another ingress into the site, it's looking less and less likely. Katsola now alone to hold off the beast that is Sloth in this round. He takes construction, forcing Katsola back. Zarok, he has to make a hero play here, and he's no hero. Noah takes him down. Katsola isolated on the main stairs, and it's very much looking like TT9 can do it. Tough luck, Barney's Trusted Dinosaurs. Not today. The upset isn't there, but commiserations, a great performance. But TT9, wow, what a recovery there.
I mean, look, this is what you have to expect with a team like TT9. The experience, just the veteran power coming through. And when they get rolling, when they started picking up those win events and they found their footing, you move on to that attack and you look at just the poise that they have in some of these executes, right? They are so good at lining up around the push, getting into and just forcing difficult questions from Barney Trusted Dinosaurs. Barney Trusted Dinosaurs, fantastic game from them. I think they can be very proud of their performance. I mean, Apex just fragging out just for the fun of it, just because he can. I mean, brilliant stuff from them. Ultimately, just not quite enough to push themselves over that line. The clutch coming in from Azza, massive. Immediately bouncing back with that flawless attacking round. There's just the clutch gene inside TT9, and when they really need the win the most, they just find ways to make it work.
Yeah, and I mean, getting even 1 point off of what looks to be the top dogs of their group, combine that with that +7 round diff from that 7-0, BTD are in still a very strong position to get to these playoffs. I would expect them to get to playoffs. They brought TT9 to their limit. Their third match should be fairly straightforward. Overall, it's still a good sign for BTD there, and they've got a lot of experience. They've likely learned a lot from that match that they can bring into their future matches. So, very good job for BTD. Commiserations, you're not out yet. You're still actually very likely to go further. But again, it's just TT9, the clutch factor. The 1v3 really just sent them to the moon, After that, it was almost a done deal, BTD did get that one other round, but TT9 firmly in the driver's seat. But that's all for us, I believe. Are you on the second match? Or
Yeah, I'm hanging around. I'll be back.
Okay, well, that's all for me. I'll leave you with the trusted hands of Golu and our host and analyst. So I'll see you in a bit.
Thank you very much, Golu and Poobal, for that very entertaining cast. Go rest up, guys, because you need it after that. In case you missed it, then it was an 8-7 win to TT9. Tish, what a game we've just witnessed in front of us. I mean, we thought TT9 were going to go in this and wipe the floor with Barney's Trusted Dinosaurs. And, well, then let's be honest, they struggled, didn't they?
Well, first I should thank TT9 for not breaking my prediction streak of being actually right about who's winning. So that's the first. And second, yet another thank you for an overtime, which we all actually enjoyed. Amazing play, amazing clutches, and perfect comeback from TT9 is what we witnessed. They blossomed after switching to attack side, especially Kanto struggling a bit on defense, changing some roles, but yeah, finally an 8-7.
Cool. Well, after talking to you when we've not been on screen or whatever, I believe you have some clips you want to go over, so should we jump to that?
Yeah, 100%, because there was huge plays that we witnessed. It was Apex play, fragging. The amount of fragging power Apex has is absolutely crazy. The way that he finds his way into the site, getting the kills, and bringing the victories to the BTD is absolutely stunning to see. But for the second clips, I think we should go into TT9 Rome presence. So the site was Church Arsenal, and TT9 presence was all the way to the top, opening hatches, opening the rotations. Although BTD finding some kills onto TT9, but it was the fragging power, the gun skills of TT9 being able to going into the rotations, finding the kills, and eventually bringing the TT9 close to the victory.
Yeah, I mean the Rome presence was very, very good from TT9, and well, then obviously we see on our screens now we see the clutch from Azar, who I mean that was I mean let's be honest, he shouldn't have been allowed to do that, should he?
Yeah, I don't know how we did get away from that. It's always stunning to watch clutches. It's amazing, and this shows how a team is synced together, because you cannot clutch unless you have information, you have the communication and synchronization between your operator and your teammates and the utilities.
Yeah. Well, moving on to our next clip, then you can see on our screen. I mean, you know what, Tish, take it away, break it down for us.
Well, I'm kind of speechless. The way that games has been playing through each round by TT9 and BTD was actually crazy. The way that we can see in the clips that both teams finding the crossfires and the backup through each operator and each player, the communication and droning skills, the info gathering has brought into the round was absolutely stunning to watch. I think in general, to just sum it up. Sorry for my bloopers. TT9 win the game. First, it's a joke, but I think they were trolling a bit. Not sure, but maybe it was for the for the excitement of viewers. But TT9 win because of their absolute gun skills and the experience they have through the T1 tier. So BTD put up such a show. Sums up for them. Amazing game, but it was the experience and gun skill at the end.
Before we move on to our interview with our special guest, just want to go over two more things very, very quickly, but as I said, before we go on to our interview. So, round one, we saw Fenrir being played, which is, we haven't seen Fenrir being played too much. So, that's pretty cool. We've only seen him being played in one game so far in Talent League on stream, and well, that was literally the same day he came out. So it's interesting the way he was played. We didn't obviously see too much of it. I'm pretty sure he got killed very quickly in the round, but nonetheless, it was cool to see him play. And also another one, I just want to get your very quick opinion on Tish. We saw a Kevin play.
Well, about that specific round, it was crazy. So the lineup, as I have written down, because it was very interesting, it was Cavan Vigil. For the defenders, it was BTD versus Jackal and Dukabe for TT9. So it kind of at the balance. So you actually go for the possible hunting down Cavan Vigil with the Jackal footprints and the calls from the Dukabe, but the game actually played otherwise because Vigil got the kill onto Jackal, which was kind of questionable for me, the way the Sloth played it and positioned. But when you see the Cav on the game, it's either the team is going to troll. I'm going to be honest. They either going to troll or there is an absolute banger coming on, and I think in this case it was the second one.
Totally agree with you. Well, thank you very much, Tish, for joining me. We'll be seeing you very, very soon into our second map. Well, we do have an interview lined up for us then. We do have Kendrew from the side of TT9 waiting for our interview. So, Kendrew, have we got... sorry, apologies. I got production in my ear and we're just saying that we are just moving him in, and here he is nonetheless. Kendrew, hello.
Hello.
How are we? First off, how are we feeling? Big win.
I don't know. I mean, perfect, to be honest. I don't know. That was probably one of the worst performances from us I've seen in a while. But I mean, we still got the win, so I don't know. It was nice to win, I guess.
Yeah. So I mean, I think everyone's got to ask. We don't like to highlight the negatives here, but I mean, what went wrong? We saw a max overtime coming out when TT9 really probably was the favourites going into this.
I don't even know. I mean, obviously we're trialing players and stuff like for 2 spots, but I don't think it's really an excuse for like the way that we played some of those rounds. I don't know whether it was a lack of respect or something, but I mean, obviously we're using like a lot of this to trial and for practice and stuff like that to go into the European League and stuff like that. But I don't know. We just like I don't know. We just comms weren't on it. Like we weren't hitting shots. Weren't even attempting to play together at some points. Like it was like really, really, to be honest, like a really poor like level for us.
Sometimes it's one of those things, isn't it? Well,
Yeah.
okay, so I've got to ask. We brought it up with the analyst Tish. When you saw that Cav, what were you thinking?
I don't know. To be honest, like we kind of noticed it on when we was defending. Is that like whenever they actually, I don't know how to word this without coming across a bit of a bit mean, but whenever they actually tried to work the rounds and tried to actually play like as a team, they were losing. And whenever they just did some cheese, like for example on Jim, they just smoked us out and rushed in and stuff like that. Like whenever they did like that, they were catching us off guard a lot, and we were moving way too much. So like the moment that we saw the Cav on defense, we were like, well, I mean, they're just going to do some cheese. The Cav is going to hide somewhere with the Vigil or something like that. So that's why we brought the Jackal and the Duck Heavy.
Cool. Well, staying on the lines of operator picks, then we saw you bring Fenrir in the first round. What was the aim? What was the goal for bringing that Fenrir?
Oh, I mean, he's completely broken. Like he's so good. Like shotgun bulletproof. I mean, the good gun. 5 of the traps that you can deactivate from the other side of the map. Like, there's literally no reason not to bring him. To be honest, he's like super strong.
Yeah, he is a bit strong. But it was good to see him play. We don't get to see him too much at the moment because obviously he has just come out. People are still learning the strats. People are still creating the strats around him.
Mhm.
Anyway, so my final question: what are your expectations going into your next match? I'm not sure who your next match is. I'm not sure if you know either. What are you hoping to potentially improve on, potentially do better going into the next match?
I mean, I think it's just more a matter of fact of taking things a bit more seriously and actually trying to get the most out of like the games, because like we've joined the league and the other leagues to just participate in official games to get more experience as like a roster and stuff going forward. I think it'd be one to take it more seriously. I think, and then try and just ground ourselves a little bit, and hopefully not go overtime. That'd be nice. That'd be really nice.
Cool. So just one more question. I know I said the last one was the last one. Well, last question was the last one, but we've got
It's okay.
one more just from our analyst. Then, so we saw TT9 blossom on the roll swap or on the switch. Can we say TT9 is an attacking favored roster?
I mean, I definitely think so. We have a lot of vocal players that are good at like opportunity seeking and calling adaptions and stuff. So, I mean, especially with like attacker repick, it's kind of like especially on Clubhouse, it's more of an attacker favored map nowadays. And obviously, because we're trialing players, we have zero structure involved, so it kind of allows us to be a bit more creative with what we want to do. And then on defense is obviously like sometimes versus certain teams, you need a bit of structure in order to tell where each player is playing and like what wall is reinforced and what isn't, because it's kind of all done on the fly. So I think definitely for now, an attacker favored team. We got a long way to go on defense for sure.
That's fair to say. Well, thank you very much for your time. Sitting down and interviewing with us. Well played, GG's. Very entertaining match to watch on our end, let alone obviously for the viewers. But thank you very much. Have a good rest of your evening.
Thank you very much. Goodbye, guys.
Well, thank you, Kanzo, for sitting down with us. And well, ladies and gentlemen, that is the first match done, dusted for today. If you missed it, it was a 8-7 scoreline to TT9 against Barney Stratton Dinosaurs. We have one more match for you tonight, which is Team Heroic. Team Heroic versus Jihu. We are going to have a very short break. It is only going to be 5 to 10 minutes. So we'll see you after the break in 5 to 10 minutes.